Data from the World Economic Forum shows a major shift in global hiring. Work experience has overtaken formal degrees as the primary assessment criterion, with 81% of employers now prioritizing experience over the 43% who still prioritize the degree. The labor market has entered an interregnum. For decades, the university degree held a monopoly as the definitive signal of employability. That monopoly is now breaking. This shift is a direct result of generative artificial intelligence, which is collapsing the cost of producing and authenticating alternative signals of competence. While the global labor market is reconfiguring at the speed of technological adoption, institutional reform in many regions remains slow. India's National Education Policy 2020 already outlines the necessary architectural fixes, including credit transfers, multiple entry-exit points, and integrated apprenticeships. However, the execution has reached a standstill. The execution gap persists because four key stakeholders, elite universities, test prep firms, government agencies, and private employers, gain specific financial or legal advantages from the degree's continued dominance. Developing a true capability market requires more than just curriculum reform. It requires an intervention to break this market coordination failure. To understand why the degree became the dominant signal, we have to look at signaling theory, pioneered by economist Michael Spence. Employers face asymmetric information, so workers use the degree as a signal. It carries a high baseline cost that is difficult to fake, imposing a sustained, trusted friction in time and tuition. But artificial intelligence has changed the signal's unit economics. While knowledge is free, AI drives down authentication costs. Verified code repositories, portfolios, and reasoning assessments can now be authenticated at scale for a fraction of a degree's price. We have reached the threshold where the cost of verifying capability directly is lower than the cost of inferring it from a 4-year credential. The degree is simply losing its status as the cheapest reliable proxy available to employers. This is why policy efforts focused on changing a syllabus fail to address the core problem. The degree is an economic institution, not just an educational one. To understand why this institution persists despite these new economics, we have to look at the groups that benefit from its continued monopoly. Any viable reform must account for the institutional power and revenue that will be lost when the capability signal diversifies. Resistance to reform is rooted in the incentive alignment of the four stakeholders who capture the value of the degree status as a trusted filter. This matrix maps stakeholder vulnerability to reform. The test prep industry, a 50,000 crore sector, depends entirely on high-stakes exams.
Because diversified pathways shrink their market, they are highly incentivized to lobby against alternative credentials. Government bureaucracies use degree-based exams for legal protection, as fixed cutoffs are defensible in court. Private firms use degrees as cheap liability shields. Meanwhile, elite universities maintain brand pricing power exclusively through scarcity. Each of these actors is making a locally optimal choice for their own survival within the current system. This creates a coordination trap. Employers won't trust new signals until they reach a massive scale, but those signals can't reach scale until employers trust them.
No individual actor wants to bear the immense cost of building a new verification infrastructure, while their competitors continue to use the old one. Breaking this deadlock requires a first mover with enough scale to absorb the coordination risk and force the market to recognize a new signal. Major global economies are already acting as first movers, implementing structural changes to bypass the degree monopoly. The United States is using the government as a signal breaker. Maryland and California have led a trend where over 20 states eliminated 4-year degree requirements for tens of thousands of public sector jobs. When the state removes degree barriers, it changes the talent pool for the entire region, encouraging private employers to follow suit to remain competitive. China is taking a state-directed approach, linking vocational training directly to pay and promotions. Their 8-level worker system ensures that 30 million retrained workers receive qualifications that are tied to mandatory wage increases and career advancement. This use of state power ensures that alternative signals have immediate financial value, bypassing the need for market coordination. Australia's strategy focuses on building the unglamorous marketplace infrastructure required for trust. Their micro-cred seeker platform creates a national standard where alternative credentials can be compared by price, credit value, and employer recognition. These signals only work when they are instantly legible and verifiable for employers across different industries. The United Kingdom is focusing on status engineering, backed by high-level political leadership. Through the Growth and Skills Levy and prime ministerial messaging, the UK attempts to put apprenticeships on exact social and functional parity with university degrees. Shifting social prestige requires more than policy. It demands large-scale public investment to change how families view alternative career paths. These nations are executing calculated interventions to force market adoption of capability signals. Applying these global lessons to India requires a move beyond the current framework of the National Education Policy 2020. The NEP correctly identified the architectural needs for vocational integration and credit transfers, but the policy incorrectly assumed that the market would organically build the necessary assessment and verification infrastructure. India needs a 5-phase sequence to build the infrastructure the original policy lacked. In Phase 1, major firms formalize internal training into portable, third-party verified credentials. Phase 2 requires the government to pilot capability-based hiring for public roles, using structured rubrics for legal defensibility. India's megacorporations and the state are the only actors with the scale required to absorb the risk of moving first. Building independent verification bodies and engineering status migration will only succeed after these first 2 phases have established baseline trust in the market. This strategy transforms the degree from a mandatory gatekeeper into one of many valid ways to prove competence. As artificial intelligence continues to drive down the cost of verifying alternative skills, the economic rationale for the degree's monopoly will continue to weaken. The industrial economy sorted workers efficiently. The capability economy verifies what they can actually do. India must use its scale to shape this transition.